I'm going to start with the back side of the quiz review, and I will do the last practice on a separate video. That way neither video will be too long. I've already started number 11 for domain and range. And for this one, remember domain is all your x values on the, think of the x axis. This is the x axis, this is the y axis. And the x axis would, this is what we'd be looking at, from negative infinity to infinity. Even though this arrow is pointing up, that doesn't mean it's going more positive. It means it's getting smaller negative numbers. Even though the number's large, the negative, like negative 11 smaller than negative 10. Negative 100 smaller than negative 10. So it's coming from negative infinity and going this way. Oh, you know what? Miss Stallings has a little mistake here. And it will do that to us sometimes. So this one goes all the way up to negative 2, and it includes negative 2, or notice between this negative 2 and negative 1, there is nothing in between these two lines, sorry. So I would start at negative 1, and it's an open circle, so I'd have a parentheses, negative 1, and then it goes all the way to infinity. So that is the first one. And if I were to try to say, hey, there's a starting and stopping point, well, yeah, there is, because it goes all the way to here. So it goes from negative infinity and stops at negative 2. And then it starts again at negative 1 and continues to infinity. So if you need to, during your quiz, borrow one of these stickies or a couple stickies, go ahead. And then for range, we're looking at the y-axis, and we're going from negative to positive, so down to up. And the first number starts right here at negative 3. And it is a closed circle. I'm going to darken this closed circle in a little bit more. So that means at negative 3, there is a bracket, and it works for negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1. Even though it's an open circle, there's a closed circle here, or really not a closed, it hits the graph there, and it goes all the way to infinity. So this one is correct, negative 3 to infinity. So that is domain and range for number 11. Number 12. They give us a straight line and part of a parabola. So we're going to again look from left to right, and I'm going to see if there's any stopping places. It hits negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1. It doesn't hit it with this line, but it does start with a parabola, and then it keeps going all the way, and that arrow tells me infinity. So it's coming from negative infinity to infinity. That is the domain. The range, I'll start from bottom to top. It starts here at negative 3, and then I could keep going up. It hits negative 2, negative 1, all the way up. Because of this arrow, it includes this line, so it would be negative 3 with a bracket, because this is a point, to infinity. Number 13, again, looking at the line, I could go all the way over, and it hits every point on this line from negative infinity to infinity. And there's nowhere I could just set this paper. Don't sit it right here and think, oh, negative 3. No, this arrow means it goes even further. That means there's a point somewhere off the graph at negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, all the way to negative infinity. So it goes from negative infinity to, this arrow going right tells me infinity. Already did that one, and sorry, getting a little, the arrow going up. That also means Yeah, it's going this way and that way. So infinity to infinity. Number 14, it asks us to write the piecewise equations from the graphs. So each one of these is going to have two equations. I don't think you're going to have one like number 15 on the quiz, but it would be nice just for you to be able to see it. For number 14, I'm looking at my first one just to, I would have f of x equals, and I have two equations, so I'm going to make room for them. One equation if this equation is less than -2, or this linear, so it's less than or equal, because there's this closed dot here, less than or equal to -2. So x is less than or equal to -2 for the first line. And the second line starts at -1 and it's greater than -1. So if x is greater than -1, I don't put an equal sign for it because of the open circle. Now for my equations. This first one has a negative slope. It goes up 2 to the left 1. So think about it this way. It goes +2, and then it goes left 1, so that equals -2. So I would have -2x, and then I just need to figure out what my y-intercept is. So if it's -2, I could go down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, and it would hit here the point at -7. So I would just subtract 7, and there's the first line of our piecewise function. Looking at the second one, this one has a positive slope of 1, so it would be just x. You could put 1x, I'm okay with that. And then it crosses the y-axis at 2, so it'd be +2. And there we go. That's all we needed for number 14. Number 15 is a little more difficult because of the parabola, but this is a good little review of equations for parabola. We'd still have our piecewise function. Here, I'll do it in a different color. Let's do purple. F of x equals, and this first one, it just equals 1 because there's no slope. Okay, and that is if x is less than -1, because it doesn't go past -1 and it doesn't equal -1, so we just put a less than. This next equation is if x is greater or equal to -1. Because anything from -1 to the right, it works. And in this case, my parabola, it's just it still has over 1 up 1, over 2 up 4, so it is just the parent function being moved. So I'd have x squared, and then it goes down 3 minus 3. And that is the equation for number 15. Number 16, it asks us to graph it. And I'm going to move this over a little bit. Let me check the video to see how much is showing. Okay, pretty much most of it. Hopefully all of number 15 was there. I just started doing it and didn't even, I don't know if you got to see number 15. Yeah, okay, yeah, you did. Pretty sure. Sometimes I get carried away doing the problems and I forget to look up. Okay, so this one, I'll make it just a tad smaller too to make sure it's all in there. So we have between 1 and 4. And so 1 is about right here. 4 is about right here. And I'm just making some imaginary lines. And so 1, this line here is less than 1, so it'd be in this area. The 2x would be in between 1 and 4 in this area, and then we don't have anything in this area. Looking at this, it's less than 1. I'd have a closed circle here less than or equal to, I'd have a closed circle, and here I would have an open circle with a less than. And now all I have to do is graph. So the first one's to the left, which makes it easier in the fact that the y intercept, we can go ahead and plot that. So that is +3. You can plot that on the graph, and then we have a negative slope. So that means it's going to be going this direction. It's going to go down from left to right. And our slope is -1, so we go over 1 or down 1 to the right 1. And that hits that line. It can't equal it, so I'm going to put an open circle. And then I'm going to go backwards, up 1 to the left, up 1 to the left. And that's enough to get an idea of what the line is going to look like. So there's our first one. It doesn't look like my line hit that point, but it did. And then the next one, 2x if it's between 1 and 4. Let me go back. Just one more thing I wanted to point out that I showed you in class today is you could check to make sure this point is right where the open circle is. If I plug in 1, that'd be -1 plus 3, which is 2. So that would be at the point 1, 2. And here it is at 1, 2. Okay, I can do that with this one too. If I plugged in 1 for 2x, that would be 1, 2 again. And if I plugged in 4, I'd have 1, 2 times 4 is 8, 8. And this one would be a closed circle, and this one would be an open circle. And I could just plot those points at 1, 2, and I'd fill that in with a closed circle, and oh, this should be 4, sorry about that. 4, 8, because 4 is what I plugged in. So 4, 8, this would be a closed circle, and I would be done. But I'm going to double check just to make sure. This has a slope of 2, so if I start here and go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, yes, that works. And I should, where there's no +3 or +4, it would be +0. It should hit at the origin. So if I go backwards down 2 over 1, yes, it does hit 0, so yes, I did graph this one correctly.